Hello, I am Adelio, and in this video assignment in our English literature class, we're talking about some major poets in the Romanticism times. So, in this case, I have been assigned to talk about one of them. So I hope you have not heard about him and this video becomes exciting information for you. So are you ready to meet him? So his name is William Wordsworth. So he is a major romantic poet right back in his times in the 17th centuries. So in this case, right, I'll be talking about a series of events and of course, right, achievements and life strategies he suffered and how he became from ground zero, being a kid, becoming one of the most popular and of course, right, the pioneers of the romantic poets. So this is a timeline that I have prepared. Basically, it mentions right all the important years right that he has impacts in his life. So let's begin right by the first year, that is 1770. So that was the year that this gentleman was born in a small village right in Cumberland County in England. So he's one of the five right kids of John and Anne Wordsworth, which were their parents. Now, something very important to highlight here that it really marked his life was in the 1778 once his mother passed away. Now, it was a big tragedy because a few months later his father also passed away. Now he had one sister, right, that was very close to him out of the five of them, and her name was Dorothy. Now they two became orphans. He mentions a lot, right, in his writings, and of course, right, in the information found, they're the only two that are mentioned. Now, in 1779, right, he moves to the Lake District. So in this case, William is sent to school, right, in a village of England named Lake District, and his sister Dorothy, right, is sent to live with some relatives, right, in a small village as well called Yorkshire. Now the siblings, right, are separated for 9 years, which became a little hard emotionally speaking for William because they were really close siblings, right, with Dorothy. Now in 17th, right, 79, as I mentioned, he was sent back to school. He became and loved school a lot, and he started writing their first right couple of pieces, but he did not publish them. So in 1787, he begins university. He enrolls right and becomes a member of the St. John's College, right, at Cambridge University, and there he publishes right his first pieces of writing is a sonnet, right, in the European magazine. So now moving on, in 1791, he graduates right from university, and basically, right, William receives his bachelor's degree right from a Cambridge University. And the same year, right, he travels to France. Of course, right, he is fascinated by the Republican movement going on in France now, and he falls in love, right, with a French woman, right? Her name is Annette Balloon. Now, in in 1793, right, he basically right begins publishing. So in this case, right, Worth publishes his first poetry collections. There were two, and they're very important, right, in his timeline, which was descriptive sketches and of course, right, an evening walk. Those two poetry right collections became very popular once he published them. Now, in 1795, so he moves to Dorset, right? Receives a small inheritance from a friend, which was money, right? And ends up housed in Dorset. Basically, right, England, with his sister Dorothy, he meets fellow poets as well, right? His name, and really marked his life. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, right? And they two become the most closest friends ever, and that was where William's life became something really different, right? Now moving on the timeline, right, in 1797, they became so close with Coleridge, which, right, in this case, right, they moved to the same house and they start writing poets. So in this case, Rick Coleridge writes the rhyme of the Asians Maronnier. They collaborate on, right, the two of them, and then groundbreaking collections of poetry. So in 1798, right, he actually published, right, lyrical ballads, which is a very popular writing of his times as well, right. It was a collection of poems written in a language really used by men. So that's what really marked the differences. So then, right, in 1799, so what happens is he returned to Lake District. So William and his sister, right, Dorothy, moved back to the Lake District, a small house, right, they had. And of course, they settled down there in that village. And it is later on in that he actually, right, published the Prelude, which was a very famous, right, piece of art he actually wrote down. Now, in 1802, right, the family matters. So William and Dorothy, right, decided to go back to France, and because he left, right, Annette Balloon pregnant, and basically he had a daughter in France. But then, right, long time once he returned back to England, Wordsworth, right, marries another lady named Mary Hutchinson, right, a schoolmate and a long time friend, of course. Now, in 1805, so basically, right, they published a Prelude, and his brother died, right, in a shipwreck, right. He was 33 years old, and that really devastates, right, William for a couple of months, right, and he actually stopped writing for those months, but then he went back into business of writing. So in 1807, basically, right, they write 2 volumes, right, of poems, which in this case, right, the 2 volumes, they contain the point of all the intimations of immorality from recollections, right, of early childhood. And of course, right, in this case, what happens is they publish it, but they were not very popular. Now, in 1807, what happens in that time is that they basically, right, publish it, and they write another piece of writing. So then in 1812, right, that was a very huge tragedy for him as well, because he loses, right, 2 children. So he had, in this case, right, the 3-year-old Catherine, and Thomas, right, that was also 6 years old. So they both died, and that was devastated for him. So, and later on, right, in the 1834, Coleridge died, which was his very close friend, right, died that year. In 1843, he becomes, right, a laureate. Wordsworth, right, is named poet of laureate of England, and he became very popular and was recognized, right, by his art and work. Now, in 1847, his daughter dies. A third daughter, right, of him dies of tuberculosis, and that really marks his life. And basically, right, he went down into depression. Now, in 1850, right, on April 23rd, Wordsworth died, right? So William Wordsworth dies of pleasure and inflammation of the lining, right, around the lungs, right? He's buried in Oswald Church, and of course, right, his writings, basically, he wrote a piece of art that was Prelude. It was not published, right, until once he passed away. His wife published it as a biography, right, of his own poems, now considered one of the most masterpiece, right, of him. So this has been, right, his life. If you want to read further about him, I encourage you to do it, because his life is just a great piece of an amazing inspiration. And I love these, right, inspirations he had. And it says, "Come forth into the light of things. Let nature be your teacher," because he loved nature, of course. This has been my presentation, and thank you very much.